concerned gonna be late now?
I don't think he's coming. I think his back is jumped.
His vehicle is at the SAU and everything.
That's fine, I like the color of this new truck. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Eric Bordeaux.
Christy Wood. Carol Lock.
Lauren Ferruccio.
Ann Pierce.
Matt Jazokis.
Janice Christian.
Heidi Duford.
Okay, agenda review. Would anyone like to add anything to the agenda?
Not I.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the agenda dated Monday, August 19th.
I second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we will approve the minutes for June 10th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the minutes dated June 10th, 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will have our first public input on agenda items only. Is there any public input on these agenda items?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Pamela Mott. I am a parent of an Alton Central School student, and I'd like to speak and comment on the agenda topic around handbooks, parent-teacher student handbooks, particularly around how parent complaints are addressed. The handbook or the parent complaint process goes through a very thorough scaffolding, if you will, where you begin and you talk to one person, try to resolve it, and if you're not able to get a resolution, it brings you into, the higher tiers of that with the superintendent, and then if you're not satisfied with the superintendent's resolution to whatever the concern is, and then the board gets to hear it next. In our policy and procedure, it seems that the superintendent has to complete the investigation before the board is able to do that. With our current policy and procedure as it stands, there's no limitation to that. So a parent can be left without a resolution to a very serious matter, and it could be dragged on, and without resolution, how does one then bring it to the board? So what I'm suggesting is when we're talking about our parent-teacher handbooks, and we're talking about complaint processes, I'm suggesting that we put in time frames so that when we have some serious concerns as parents and they're brought forward through the appropriate chains of commands, it does not stall out at the top and leave parents feeling ignored and unvalidated around some very big topics. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Pam. Any other public input on these agenda items? Okay, then seeing none, we will move on to financials, the informational items. Heidi?
Hi.
Hi.
So you have July in front of you. We're still working out encumbrances and things like that. I've been focusing more on the audit, which is happening next week. So if you do have any questions, just let me know.
Okay. I do not have any questions at this time. I know we're putting an audit, so that will,
We voted to do the sign from the encumbrances. I'm trying to jog my memory.
Yes, we
I
did.
think so.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait until the audit before we can order the
Right.
sign.
I'll know better after next week on
Okay.
the encumbrances and where we stand. And so next meeting, I'll be
Okay,
able to
great.
bring that.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Yep.
And then we have the first student strikes.
Tim and I today met with the area general manager as well as our local rep. While the strike has to do with 6 other affiliates that are not part of New Hampshire, we have a 2-year CBA in place at this point. So they do not see at this moment any cause of concern. However, they did caution us that potentially while they can't strike, there's the potential of a rolling sick out, sick day, and things of that nature. But our local rep is working right now to make sure that there are buses ready to go in the event that takes place. So they will meet again on September 11th as part of their negotiations, so we'll see where that goes from there.
So essentially, we're home free the first part of school.
Yes.
You have to
So
see
they-
how
there is
September.
there is a verbal agreement between the Teamsters and First Student that the school year will start on time and without interruption. But again, on that September 11th date, they'll be coming to the table to see what that is. But again, he assured us that New Hampshire does not have they have a non-strike clause, so we'll see where it goes from there.
Fingers
I
crossed
guess
on
we'll be
that.
coming up with a contingency plan if we lose our buses, right?
Correct.
Okay. How much will they pay me
Okay.
to taxi children?
The technology report. Brand new camera server, upgraded entire speaker intercom, working on finalizing AI use policies, internet filtering, firewall, system training on Skillshare Google Workspace, Autodesk, Tinkercad, sorry. I think that's it. So if there are any questions for
What about
technology?
guest internet? Do we do that here? Because at Prospect, people complain about that all the time. Do we have a guest internet here? We don't. Okay.
Not that
Should
I'm
we?
aware of.
I feel like cell phone service is better here than at Prospect.
It is better than
Mhm.
Prospect. You can't get anything at
Right.
Prospect.
Great though.
If you're in the
Or-
classroom, it's
yeah.
not good, but if you're in like the main, like outside areas, it's like fields or whatever,
Mhm.
the cell phone's fine.
It's not bad.
I mean, it might be something we want to consider as guest internet, only because then if they're at a basketball game or, need to make a call. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just something to think about. I know people get very frustrated in Prospect because it's horrible, even now.
I'd also like to make sure that the website is updated and accurate
Mm-hmm.
as we get into our season of extracurriculars.
Yep.
That's really important for parents.
We do get guest Wi-Fi after 3 p.m. I think
Yeah.
it's when it opens up. So it is
So there is guest Wi-Fi.
after 3 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
But not
Yeah,
during the day.
but not during the day.
Well, I don't know if we need
So-
it during the day,
Yeah.
Right, that
because then the
sounds
kids
fine.
will be using it.
Yeah,
We
'cause
don't need
there's
that. Sorry.
right.
I'll follow up with Matt and report out at the next board meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Building and grounds.
Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Sean?
Hi. No, I just wanted to talk about some of the projects that we did this summer. It's been a fast summer, but it's been very productive. We had about 4 sets of doors around the building changed out. One of the big things is we now have air conditioning and ventilation in the gymnasium.
This is
and
great.
That's huge.
it
Awesome.
works very well. I've had a lot of compliments on that. We had some HVAC work done, just in some minor repairs around the building. And then we're in the process of putting up the big sail shade that PTSA purchased for us. So we have the big pole up, and after that sits for about a week, then we're gonna put up the actual shade. And I think that's gonna be a great improvement for the playground. It'll offer some shade for people to get out of the
That's a
sun.
great idea.
And another big one that I know everybody's excited about is gutters over the
Yeah, I saw you
preschool.
put those in there, Sean.
Yeah, so those are up, and we'll see how they do our first big rainstorm. And I know the sign is in the works as well. And that's pretty much it so far. Any questions?
I think the
Go.
building looks great, Sean.
Right,
Thank
I
you.
Yeah.
noticed that
Yeah,
one. Does
great.
not
Yeah.
Shiny everything
We
is.
appreciate it.
I got a great team, but thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at the principal's report.
So it has been an extremely busy summer here. Mrs. Rohr and myself have been working very hard to put some significant changes in place. But with that, the biggest change that came up over the summer was with the team reps, union representation, and the guidance department They came together during the month of July for a day and a half and completely created a brand new master schedule for all of our students in pre-K through 8, with one common goal in mind: what's best for kids. So in doing so, we have maximized instructional time, making our instructional blocks a little bit longer for each core subject. We have integrated win time every single day in all the grade levels so that there'll be designated win time to give those kids the supports they need. We had representation from special ed to make sure that time has been made for special ed to meet with their students as well as Title I, so it's not interfering with recess or snack time. It was a very collaborative effort, and I think that it's going to promote all student success. We're very excited about it.
That is fantastic.
That's great.
Does the preschool start at 7:45 too?
No.
Same time they.
They'll have their same, yes. The 7:45 time is entirely due to the fact that our students were arriving at 7:30 and not going to their homerooms until 8 o'clock. So they would be in the gym or the cafeteria for 30 minutes, and that wasn't good use of time that was child-centered. So we have extended it to have them in the classrooms earlier so they can be with their teachers and get some more support.
That's great.
So they're still gonna have electives, or?
They will still have electives, but not the way that they were done before. Last year and for years prior to that, they had electives every single day throughout the year. We have taken it and scaled it back a little bit. It won't be every day. It'll be a much different way
Okay,
of
what
doing it.
about band and chorus?
Band and chorus will still very much be a part of their lives, yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's
Alright.
not going anywhere. We made
Just
sure of that.
curious about it.
Yep.
Need our band and chorus.
I'm a little worried about when they have the drop-off, so they can't get dropped off any earlier than 7:30, right?
Right.
So that'll stay the same. You're gonna have an influx of big kids coming in, but then the little kids waiting for pre-K. Like, are we gonna be able to evacuate those cars just sitting there waiting for the pre-K to open? Or are they gonna be able to go drop their kids off a little bit early? Cause that's essentially, 30 minutes in between that they parents have to wait to drop off the little kids?
That's a great question. That is something that we'll need to
Cause I
discuss.
remember
No, I
being
appreciate
like
you bringing
dropping
that up.
off the big kids and then sitting in my car. I pulled off to, find,
Yeah.
there's never any parking back there,
Right.
but you do what you can do. And then you just wait in the car, and usually it was about 10 minutes or so that you have to wait, cause I would time it to drop off as late as possible. And then if you are arriving at 7:45, those kids are gonna, like those 4-year-olds are just gonna have to sit and wait. I don't see any parents going home.
Right.
I don't know how many multiples. I mean, there were a
think it
few
makes a
multiples,
difference,
but
right.
it does make a difference for families who now have to sit and wait 30 minutes to drop off
Or
their
even
preschooler.
15. I mean, like last year, I waited to the last minute to get
yeah.
to school because I had a preschooler. So
Right. So
That's
less
what-
we
than
came
wait
in
time.
hot and dumped both
Yeah.
of them off at the same
That's what I
time.
did.
But
It does cause
Um,
traffic issues. I mean, the
Okay.
traffic is horrendous in the
I
morning.
was able to find a spot to claim as my own every day. To park in the parking lot.
But it wasn't a spot, but
Yeah,
now
it
you're
wasn't a
gonna-
spot.
Yeah, but now
I
you're gonna have
see.
just a lot of people trying to do the same, but then waiting for a lengthy amount of time.
What
in
time does
between.
preschool start? 8 o'clock?
8:05.
8:05?
But we're not allowed to bring them in until 8 o'clock exactly is when the doors
Yeah,
open.
8:10 it starts, but you can start bringing them in at 8.
And we're dropping off the other kids at 7:30. That's gonna be a traffic snarl. It is, because I wouldn't go home and then come back.
Well, right, that's what I'm worried.
Or you wait till you drop your kid off at 7:43 so
And
they
then
can
make
make it
'em
to
run.
their classroom by 7:45 and then
Oh my God, that's
wait.
so
I mean,
stressful.
I don't know
I
how
think
many
we
there
can-
are, but I mean, there were a few of
I'm
us.
sure there are multiples.
I think we can talk with the preschool teachers and see if we can come to some agreement to adjust that.
Even if they took them out to the playground, the little
Yeah.
guys, and
Yep.
just monitor
That makes
them.
sense, and I can
For
see
the
where the
nice
issue would
days.
be.
Right.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
that's
bringing
great.
that up.
All right, anything
What else?
else? The 45-day plan is here.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, one more question. Are we getting out at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we start dismissal at 2:35 still?
Dismissal's at 2:50.
Okay.
It has always been at 2:50. I don't know why kids.
Bussers, well, I was always told that the bussers go first because my daughter was a walker and she couldn't get dismissed until bussers and after pickup.
So we have changed that.
Okay.
Walkers will be dismissed first, so that they're
Okay.
not waiting for 10 to 15 minutes for buses to leave. It doesn't make sense for kids to be sitting in a classroom for that long when they live right next door and they
Okay.
shouldn't have to wait. So walkers will be dismissed first, and then bussers will be dismissed immediately following.
Makes much more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fewer discipline problems too that way.
All good questions,
Anything else
though.
on your report?
Anything else?
That was the bulk of it. There's a lot more that I'd be willing to share.
Have you had a lot of questions from parents about the first day of school? I've heard some rumblings on Facebook about it. I didn't know if you had anyone calling and asking about it.
I haven't had any specific questions
Just
brought
curious.
to my attention.
I mean, the intention was so we could have open house the night before school started. That's why we made that one day happen. But maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe start school before Labor Day. I don't know.
Well, we do
Well, we
start.
are-
No,
Yeah,
but I
yes.
mean more than just one day. Maybe that would satisfy people. I don't know.
The open house is scheduled for the 28th from 4 to 6. I'm hoping that it is well attended. I know that it's very hard when people may have trips already planned or long
Right.
yeah, but I'm hoping.
I
that-
think that's the objection is that a lot of people have trips.
Are you
planned.
sending out a message with all that information?
It was sent out last week through Thrill Share, should have been received.
So we don't have
What?
Thrill Share.
What's
Okay.
Thrill Share?
It's the-
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
So that was in,
Okay. Maybe that's why I haven't gotten any emails this
we
summer.
recently did a Thrill Share, school information system training session with the new admins and admin support. So that should have gone out, and it sounds like it
Did you get it, Eric?
It might be.
I got
You guys
I got a letter in the mail for pre-K.
a letter?
Yes,
Yeah.
so pre-K
Teacher
and
letters.
kindergarten, their letters went home directly in the mail. First grade through 8th grade, parents would have received an email with their teacher's back-to-school letter.
Is
letting them-
Thrill Share your email blast?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's when you get the text that says, you know, check your email or something.
You didn't get either?
But I didn't get anything about, I mean, I got the middle school letter this morning,
Okay.
but I didn't see anything like, hey, open house is this date.
That did come
I
in.
can find out for
Okay,
you.
The
so-
open
Find out
house did come
specifically.
in
Get it.
separately.
I don't have that.
We'll take a look at that tomorrow and make sure that it gets
Okay.
resent, just to make sure.
Right, it might
Yep.
be a
Absolutely.
good reminder just to
Mhm.
get it out there, so that
Yeah.
people know.
We'll also put it out on the signboard tomorrow morning after tonight's meeting.
Are the kids gonna get letters soon about who their teacher is?
Those should have been emailed last week on Friday. Grades 1 through 8 were an email, pre-K and kindergarten is a
Did you
hard
get
copy in the mail.
Because Amber's been asking about Cam's
I got the
teacher,
middle school blanket letter this morning,
saying their
But
I
that
haven't
was
got
it.
either.
You
but I
haven't
didn't
gotten
get
either
a
child.
specific, this is your homeroom teacher.
That's what I've heard, that they're
It
not,
was just
they
a
haven't
blanket.
gotten
Yeah,
it.
we got the welcome email, parents received welcome email to the 4th grade class and listed all the teachers, and then welcome to the middle school, here are all your teachers. But there's a lot of parents asking like who my child's
Okay.
homeroom is
We
with
can
that.
address that.
I know some had them on their report card, and then some said to be determined.
Okay.
I think there were new teachers being hired, so they had to wait.
Wait,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know Cam hasn't gotten his teacher.
Okay.
Little
that's it.
technological glitches there.
Yeah.
You writing all
We'll
this down,
address
Matt?
I got it right here.
There
Thank
you go.
you.
Jackson's checking it over there as we speak as well, so we'll have that taken
Thought
care of
this
tomorrow.
looked good, Janice.
Thank you.
Okay. So, I think we are now, unless there's anything else, I'm gonna move on to curriculum instruction and assessment, which is you now.
Before I jump in, though, I want to commend Janice and Jacqueline for their leadership in working with the team reps in creating that master schedule. Oftentimes, as administrators, it's hard for us to kind of sit back and allow people to come to the table, but they did a good job of facilitating, and that new schedule is truly a collaboration of coming from most of the team with a few slight pushes here and there, but so they should be commended for their work. Professional development focus for this school year is going to be around leading great learning. We'll be working with Mike Anderson, who started off in May with a handful of teachers, who also did some work over the summer. He was part of our admin retreat and will be kicking off the school year with the entire system. A lot of what his work is about making connections, student voice, choice, and really kind of that understanding of how when students have the autonomy, their student engagement increases, and he'll be working with the faculty and staff on that. The program objectives through our UDL practices, we're looking at boosting student engagement, strategies for helping students learn positive and effective self-management strategies when we talk about MTSS, and then become more consistent in their classroom management beliefs and techniques. It is our hope as we continue down this path that we get more consistency from classroom to classroom, grade to grade, with what the expectations are. Some of the activities they'll be working on: whole group workshops, some core study groups, small discussions, staff meeting. We'll have him for what will equate to 4 full days throughout the year. So he will be working with not only ACS but also with Barnstead. We have 3 professional development days right now: November, March, and May. I'll be working with Janice and Jacqueline to sit down and create those 3 days so people know about them well in advance, so they know what to expect when those days roll around. The system goal is around cultural competency, which was what last year. We'll continue to work on providing that opportunity for everyone to have access, equal access, and in making sure that our implicit and explicit biases are not coming into the classroom as best we can. And then looking at training with self-reflection, empathy, and understanding of that piece of it. Today we had our new teacher orientation, which was held off at the high school in the morning and then in the afternoon. It was a good opportunity. We started off with introductions and one fun fact, which was kind of interesting to listen to some of the fun facts for our faculty across the system. They were able to go through and make sure that they got their IT stuff. We talked about the mentoring program and the coaching model that we'll be using. And then the afternoon they were spent with their mentors at the building level. So a lot of positivity. I think there's a tremendous amount of, I guess, positive vibes coming from the new people coming in and our mentors. So that's all a good thing going forward. I provided to you the cohort data for each of our classes based off our SAS. And you can kind of take a look at where we're at with our latest round of math and reading scores. Janice and I met earlier this summer, talked about how we're going to unveil this not only to the whole faculty, but taking a look at each grade level and sitting down with the grade level teachers, looking at the protocols. She created a spreadsheet that has not only our STAR data, but our SAS data and all our local assessments. And we'll continue to utilize that information during our win times. Not hopefully, but as we go through this year, we'll have more STAR data, so then we'll start to report that out when we look at our data dashboard, because that'll give us at least 4 or more data points, and then we can kind of start to drill down on that piece of it. So.
I have a question about the test scores. Are those gonna be released to the parents at all, or are those accessible? 'Cause
They will be, yes.
Okay.
We'll get that out, yep.
Okay.
Yep. So.
Great. So Tim is not here this evening. He is not doing well.
Not doing well, yeah.
So we are sorry to hear that.
Yeah. He did provide a board report. Everybody should have that piece. I think Deb handed it out earlier.
You need more, I guess.
I can go over some of the highlights if it's okay with the board.
Yep,
Okay.
that's great.
So the school calendar, the 24-25 school calendar was approved, which included no school for students during the November and March election dates. There's also a state primary this year on September 10th. And we have been asked to accommodate that. And so what Tim is suggesting is that we're proposing that the board adopt a change, so there'll be no school on Tuesday, September 10th. Also, on Friday, October 4th, we had no school on that particular day for NEA. NEA's changed from October 4th to October 11th. So what we're proposing is no school on September 10th, have school on October 4th. At this time, we're not proposing October 11th be a no-school date at this moment. He wants the opportunity to sit down and talk with the CBAs at each of the schools to kind of get a feel of how many people would be actually attending that before any type of proposal would be for that. So that's under the action items so that we can take action on making those changes.
I thought for ACS it wouldn't interfere with the elections because we weren't hosting them.
Yeah, we
Right,
talked
but
about
at
that.
Prospect Mountain it is, and in Barnstead it is also. So they would be using the school for both of those places, so.
So to keep everyone the same.
Keep everyone the same, yes.
For the same
Yeah.
calendar.
Yep, yep.
So October 11th is the NEA day, so you're going to the union and discussing how many people, so
Yes.
we don't end up
Actually
having
plan
a
on
million,
going,
yeah.
Correct.
Because otherwise we'll have a problem.
And we do have,
Yep.
you know, a little bit of time to
Right.
get that done,
Yep.
so.
Well, we don't meet in September, so you'll have to send out a
Yeah.
email.
Okay.
Right.
In June, you had asked Tim to go through and survey staff about the number of faculty and staff that might be interested in having their child attend who did not live in Alton. At the time, the survey suggested that there were 4 teachers that were looking at that piece of it. Again, looking at this as the potential of a recruitment and retention strategy, he's developed the following recommendations. Children of full-time teachers, admin, related service providers, or registered technicians would be eligible. Children of part-time employees would not be eligible. And then if there are grandchildren, unless the grandparent was the legal guardian, they would not be allowed to attend. Each qualifying member is entitled to have a child attend at no cost. And then you would create a policy where any additional children would be at 50% of the prior year per pupil cost. No child would be admitted to a grade level where the class sizes would exceed the policy IIB. However, if the student was admitted and for whatever reason that particular class had an influx of students, that student would still be able to remain even though we would exceed IIB. So his recommendations tonight would be either to approve that, amend it, the proposed criteria, and authorize us to enroll the children. Right now, there are 2 that we know would be enrolled. So we'd like to move forward with that so that those 2 individuals can be enrolled accordingly.
So I have a question about special education services. I know that's practical end of it is, if there's a child that's enrolled in special education services and it involves extra cost to our district, how do we deal with that? I mean, it's an important piece
Yep.
that the public's gonna be asking. So that's not part of the policy.
Yep. So we don't have that down at this point, so we certainly would have to come back with you with that information.
I think we
Yep.
need to think about that
Yep.
because it could be an out-of-district placement for all we know.
Absolutely,
So-
yes. Good point, thank you for bringing that up. The CIP committee, so Tim will be attending the CIP committee on Wednesday, October 28th. That time, he'll review the last 5 years of the capital plan, and then solicit feedback from the CIP committee members, and then report back out in September or October at the next school board meeting. He cordially invites any of you that would like to attend that meeting.
So it's in October?
Or
No, it says
August.
August 28th.
August 28th, yes. But
Okay.
he'll report back out on his meeting with CIP in either September or
Gotcha.
October when we meet next. Yep, sorry.
Nope, okay.
We may have to have a meeting in September.
And lastly, just a reminder on the cellular phone policy, the principals will have in their parent and student handbook the conversation that took place regarding the electronic devices. There's also some information in there that, with the exceptions where the student may use it in emergency situations and the protocols that go along with that. So that's Tim's
Okay.
overview.
So, I guess the question is, we wanted to approve this policy tonight
that's the
so
problem.
that
I know,
we
we can't
could have
not
those
let them
students
start.
enrolled. But given, and so, I'm kind of jumped over to action items and I sort of went right into this because it
Yep.
is just what we were talking
Yeah,
about.
right, it makes sense.
So on the one hand, I really understand the need to approve a policy for
I do
students
too,
to be
because they need
enrolled.
to
It's
start
timely.
school.
But, I also think that those are important questions.
Mhm.
Could we, I guess, and I don't know, I'm just wondering, so could we approve the policy for now and then amend it?
I think we'll
Next
have
month?
to.
I
If we-
think-
I
I
don't
do
think it's
too.
fair to the children to make them wait until we
Right, I
approve
don't wanna
everything.
make, yeah.
Yep.
So that, I guess, would be my thought. I don't know what you guys.
But what yeah, that's.
I don't
the part
know.
of
But
the
if you
issue.
say, if the policy is that if they have certain things that they cannot come here, then we can't now tell them they have to go.
Right, we can't kick them out
We,
once they're
we
here.
can certainly take a look at the individuals that are coming to see where they may fall, if they fall under that category. And if they fall into the category, then we'll let them know that the board has tabled that until we can have a better clarification as to
How it proceeds, I
policy
mean,
is.
what we want to put in there for those special ed situations, or.
right, because we don't
Right.
want to deny them services, but on the
No.
flip side,
We wanna be fair to everyone.
right, we want to be fair to all the other children that are receiving services, so.
So if they're not falling under that category, with your permission, we'd like to enroll them, and then we
Right.
can bring back additional language around.
Were we informed of the grade levels before? I don't remember if we were.
No, I
Like
don't think,
how are we,
I think we
Did-
were, but I can't remember.
how are we going to say, like right now, oh, they don't need services, but well, they haven't had any evaluations yet to make
depends
their
on how old they
decision.
are, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, I can't, I don't remember if we were told.
I don't remember either.
I remember this was a non-public discussion too, so I
Right.
don't really know if maybe we should take it to non-public again.
Maybe we
today?
should talk about it in non-public, huh? I think so. I don't want to reveal any information that would be confidential.
Yeah, 'cause I can't remember totally.
Okay, so let's table that for now, and we'll talk about it in non-public, and then we will, hopefully,
We can approve it in non-public and then just come out, or approve it, we can approve it when we come out of non-public,
okay,
if we choose to.
so we'll do that. So then, going back to action items, the first item is, and I apologize for jumping around, the substitute guidance pay, rates.
Yep. So in your packet, you have an overview from the 21-22 school year, and then what the proposal is for coming into this school year. This allows us to continue to be competitive, and if you look at the breakdown of the per hour costs, when you're looking at area places and hiring, and it seems a lot more, but when you look at the per hour cost, I think it's in line with what we would need to do in order to attract and obtain, and
It's very difficult to find substitutes.
correct.
Oh, gosh, yes.
It's, and certainly, they earn every penny.
Oh, yeah.
They come into some tough situations, and we certainly appreciate those who are willing to substitute. So,
I make a motion, we accept the new rates as stated in our proposal.
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now let's talk about the proposed school calendar change, for September 10th to be no school, and October 4th will now be a regular school day.
When is, oh, okay, the holiday is on the 14th.
Correct. Yep.
So
Yeah,
they would have a
so-
4-day weekend if they, that's the typical, is that they have NEA conference before Columbus Day weekend. And then the kids have a 4-day weekend. So I guess we'll just wait and see what the union says about that. Okay, I make a motion to accept the proposed changes on our calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that is approved, we just wanna make sure to get that information out to parents. Okay,
Can I just go back real quick for the,
Yeah.
adding in extra time in the morning for the school day, does that push us out at all by backing us up a day for last day of school? Like
Say
our
that again.
hours, you know what I mean, like if
so
we're
she's asking about, because we're increasing the time,
during
The school
School
day,
day.
should,
School
it
day.
should add another
That
day
should
to it.
add something for the
Yeah,
end of the year.
we should be able to
so that-
subtract a day from the
Yes.
calendar.
We've been in pretty good shape with hours. It's usually the high school is the one that kind of dictates a little bit, so.
So what she's asking is, can we trim one off the calendar? Is that what you're asking? there?
last day of school, June 17th instead of the 18th.
None at this
No.
moment, but we can certainly take a look at that. Because
It's-
again, we'd be
it's-
looking at having elementary end before high school, because with the high school calendar right now, it's tight, so.
And the problem with that is.
Right,
I
like,
just-
why can't we end
The
up
problem,
with high school?
If
the
we're-
problem is that
I mean,
there's, a lot of
because-
families depend on the older kids
You
to
can do what
watch
you
their
want.
children. I think that's part of the
Did
issue,
we
maybe?
end earlier this year or no?
No, I think
No.
we didn't, did we?
I think we got out the same day.
I think
we
a lot
had
of
the snow
people
days.
find it difficult when the older kids are in school and the younger kids aren't. That's what
Are they
I've
starting
heard.
earlier too, or are the older kids not gonna be able to, like, how does that?
Their
how they
first
go-
day is Thursday, just
Their
like. you.
time of day.
No, their
they're
time,
not
it's still the same,
changing.
yep.
They start at 8. Yeah.
Not every day, are we?
No, late start is what, 9?
Right
Matt,
around there, yeah.
9. So 2 days a week. We could have gotten
Tuesdays
it.
and Thursdays.
I wanted to.
I can certainly, I'll take a look at the timing and see what the number of hours are. Be prepared to have that conversation.
Be nice to get out earlier, huh? Although it depends on the snow days too.
Well, right, but
Yeah,
hey,
But the whole district gets snow days, so, you know.
Yeah, although we were looking
we're
at
putting
doing
in
some, some of the online work this year, so we wouldn't have a lot of snow days. Being more prepared for that. Blizzard bags.
To be discussed, to be determined.
I know. I like snow days, so
Okay, let's look at the handbooks. We've got parent, student, faculty, staff, and athletic is next on our list.
So in the parent handbook, it says isn't it part of a policy that we do procedure? You go to the person first, then the principal. That's what Mrs. Mott was talking about. Is that in the handbook or is that in policy?
It's right
in the handbook.
here. In the handbook, page
It's in the
9.
handbook, okay. Because if it was part of the policy, I was gonna suggest the policy committee go over it. That would have been appropriate, because then they could modify them and
Yeah.
bring them to be
Yeah.
changed.
And it does have,
Student and
limits.
parent.
It has time.
What page is that, please?
9 of the student handbook.
So there are some timeframes in here. So, after 5 days maximum, after 10 days, and within 30 calendar days.
So if that's not being met,
based on the procedural flow chart, there are times given. There is a timeline.
so the parent goes to the teacher. If it's not resolved in 5 days, they go to the school administration. After 5 more days, if it's not resolved, it goes to superintendent. After 10 days, if it's not resolved, it goes to the school board.
Within 30 calendar days.
And then the parent has 30 days to bring it to the State Board of Education. So if those deadlines aren't being met by an administrator or teacher, they must have the right to then skip to the next step, correct?
I
So
think
that's-
what Mrs. Mott was saying was to eliminate the person who's doing the investigation to consistently keep saying, I'm working on it, I'm investigating, I'm working on it, and have more of a timeline to,
But even if he's working on it, if it's unresolved after 10 days, she has the right to go to the school board.
Right, that's how I read
That's
it.
how I read it.
Yeah.
So if the superintendent's saying, I'm working on it, then you go to the school board after 10 days if it's unresolved. That's what it says clearly in my mind, but that's how I read it anyway. So,
So I guess the question becomes, is there a need for a different timeline, or is there, so there is a timeline here,
right, that's what I
Right.
see.
right?
That's what I'm
So that
reading.
that is present. I guess the question becomes, is there a need to change that, or, do we want to?
I think the difficulty you run into is every case can be slightly different. Some can be resolved in 24 to 48, and depending on what the situation is. The investigation may take longer than 10 days, depending on
And that's what I think we've
who's
run
involved.
into,
Yeah,
is
so.
it has taken longer.
Yep.
And obviously it's privy information, so you can't share
Right.
what is
Right.
taking so long.
Yep.
The other piece with the 30 days of school board is Alton board doesn't meet every month, so we'd have to have a special meeting.
Right,
We have to make sure of that,
right.
so just wanna make sure of that too.
I don't think, I mean, that has not been a problem.
So how do we deal with it if it takes
Well, I
longer
think
than
if that
10
would,
days?
I think that, I mean, personally, I think that if a parent emailed, the chair, that,
Mhm.
I think that's how that would be handled, right? So if a parent asked the chair for a meeting because their,
Because after 10 days it's not
situation
resolved, right,
was not resolved,
and the superintendent
then I
says he
think,
needs more time.
that then the chair would say, okay, communicate to the board and the administration that we need to have a meeting within
Right.
30 days.
And then if there wasn't enough time for the superintendent to resolve it after 10 days, he should then have more than enough time to bring it to the school board meeting where we're meeting with the parent.
Right.
I'm thinking.
Right, could we also ask Tim for a summary, whether resolved or unsolved, like just at our board meetings, have him come in, bring all the complaints that he's faced, just check them off if they've been, if he's resolved them,
Would
great,
have to be non-public.
which is fine, but just at least so we know what complaints have come in, if Tim's dealt with it, that's fine, if something's unresolved, at least we'll
I
know.
think that could become a little
That,
burdensome,
yeah, I think that's a lot.
but if,
I think that's a lot
I think we'd have to
to-
know the background if it comes to us. So let's say that Tim didn't do his due diligence in 10 days and it's coming to us, then we need to see the history of what happened. So he should be, or
I
someone
wanna
should
be
be documenting.
clear also that, let's use the term superintendent.
Sorry.
So, if the superintendent,
Well, it could be
Didn't-
Matt too.
right, so,
I like Tim better.
yeah. It could be anyone. I just think that it's just in general, I don't wanna,
Sure,
I don't
I
wanna
get
talk about a
that, yeah.
specific person.
Sure.
Because whoever is superintendent. So if the superintendent, did not resolve an issue after 10 days, and a parent requests a meeting,
Then we give it to them.
then we hold that meeting within 30 days. But I think we would also ask the superintendent
To make
to
sure there was.
communicate with us and make sure that we have any information that they have as well.
Right, so the question, Eric, is do you want it, if it goes to the superintendent, or do you want all the complaints, whatever?
I'm not talking like a page summary, I'm literally just talking about a complaint came in from this parent, is about this situation that happened, and whether he cleared
But
it.
what if it gets resolved, like with the teacher? You don't wanna hear about that, do you?
Right, I'm only saying if it gets to
To the
superintendent.
oh, okay, that's why I'm asking you to clarify.
Yeah.
Just the ones that get to the superintendent level.
I would just caution, with the fact that if you're made aware of a situation prior to being resolved, and
That's true.
then an appeal comes to the board, you're basically excluding yourself because you have
You
the
could be
information
considered
prior to, so
prejudiced,
there's
right,
there's
that's
no
true.
You're
real.
not gonna be an impartial,
Exactly.
Right.
So
So
there
we
wouldn't
guess
be a
we
hearing,
can't.
cause you already know all the information or have a pretty good understanding, so I would just be cautious about that.
That's a good point, Matt.
Yep.
Good point.
yeah.
It's better if we don't know what's going on, because then the parent has a clear vision, tells us what their vision is, and then the superintendent would then
Tells us
present.
what their vision is so that you could be impartial and hear
Hear
the
both sides
information
without
as
prejudice.
presented, without having hearsay or previous knowledge or.
Right. It's a good point. So I get that.
Plus the dissemination of information outside of a meeting anyway. I don't think the super would be able to do that, to communicate to all the board members outside of a meeting. So he'd have to hold a meeting to tell us every
Right.
time he has a chunk of within 10 days.
Right.
I don't
So
think
to
that's
summarize, right, cause I think this is the issue. If a parent feels like the superintendent, or if the superintendent has not resolved an issue
In 10 days.
in 10 days, then that parent should contact the chair of the school board
For a meeting.
for a
Right.
meeting.
And hopefully within those 30
And
days,
then
the superintendent would have
within the next
time.
30 days of that contact, which should also preferably be in writing. Right, not a phone call, but,
Sure.
and all of our
And then maybe
emails.
the parent then chooses to cancel their meeting, but it would be the parent choice, not
Mhm.
ours.
But I think that's a reasonable, you know, timeline
Yeah.
of, okay, the superintendent has 10 days. If the parent after 10 days feels like it is unresolved, they should contact the chair. The chair would then reach out to schedule a meeting within 30 days.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
But they have to go through the other channels first before
Oh,
going
yeah,
to the
right.
superintendent.
Correct. It goes to the teacher, the school
Right.
administration, principals.
And sometimes parents want to bypass the teacher, but I'm sure as the principal knows, you go right back and say, you have to talk to the teacher first. And if it's not resolved at that point, then it goes.
Anything else on the handbooks, parents, student, faculty, staff? We have
yeah.
some updates here, the faculty handbook.
I do about the cell phone policy, it's page
we-
48.
Are we still on student and parent, or are we on?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of
I
that.
just
On
wanna
page
make sure.
48. And cross-referencing Tim's report, because the very first paragraph, school phones should be used only for unforeseen and or important reasons. Students are allowed to use the phones in the main office for personal calls as permitted by the office staff. And when I was reading this over the other day, I was like, that's so vague. And then I'm just, who's making the decision that it's important or an unforeseen circumstance that the child needs to reach out to a parent or something like that. And then when in Tim's report today, he says, based on board input, the principal has carved out exceptions where students may, in emergency situations, make calls home after receiving a pass from a teacher to go to the private office of the principal, assistant principal, or school
Got it.
counselor, social worker, or nurse. So I appreciate that word, the verbiage, but it's not in our handbook, and I just don't want that to fall through the cracks because it's really important, but it's gonna be nowhere to be known by anybody that, hey, if there's like a really extenuating circumstance where a child needs to reach out to the parent, that they have that ability to do so, and this is explicit, like, here it is.
Well,
Do you
it puts the
understand?
secretaries in a bad position to make that decision, so it should be a private conversation, not an
Oh, it should
office conversation.
be, we had asked at our last meeting
Right.
that they're given a special private place to speak and that it's not a secretary's
It's not their responsibility or
well,
their
it's,
duty.
they should have no,
But
they
they
should
shouldn't
know
be
what it's about.
screening. I
Right,
mean,
I
It's up
agree
to-
with
it's
you.
up not to your
Right, so that's
So
where
that's why it needs to change
it
in
seems
here.
vague
Right.
here, but it's very explicit in Tim's report, and that's just my concern is,
So
you know, we're
change it
trying to be
Tim's.
very sensitive. This is a huge change for a lot of families that they're not gonna be able to reach out to their kid, and there needs to be
We can
something
adjust it.
there.
That's an
That's-
easy adjustment.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll
was the only
clarify
thing I
that the
had.
administration will make that decision and then provide them the opportunity.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that it's like, and the child feels, you know, empowered to be able to say, hey, I need to talk to my mom privately, you know,
Right.
whatever the
And we
reason
can
is.
check
There
back
is-
and
it
see how
is
things are going,
it's in
see if
here.
there's been any
Yep.
It's over
issues
here.
or if
This
it's
isn't-
Yeah,
working itself out.
and that the front office is aware of that too, and
Yeah,
empathic to
the
that, that
secretary
they're
should
not
have
like,
to deal with it.
yeah,
Consistency will be the key to the success. of
Yeah.
this.
We can make sure that the front office knows that if a student is asking specifically for myself or Mrs. Rohr or Mrs. Eckberg, to make sure that they radio us so that we can address that,
Right.
especially if it's with regard to making a phone call.
okay, thank you.
I had a question on the report cards will be available through Power School only. K through 5 do not have Power School or access to it mostly unless, I mean, they do, but they don't. It's weird, like, we're told we have it, but we don't know how to access it as, until you're a middle school parent, you really, it's like a foreign world.
We can figure out how to make sure that you can access it, a tutorial, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to be more cautious of the environment and realized that we were using a lot of paper. So it makes sense in the digital age that they can have it. A parent still can request a hard copy. We are definitely allowing that. I understand as a parent, a lot of people want to make sure they have that copy and put it in their, child's baby book for 2nd grade, so we want to make sure they still have that ability.
Okay.
This is about the time for school again. Are they gonna be allowed to eat breakfast, and how are they gonna manage getting all those kids in and out in that short amount of time for breakfast? Is it still everyone can just go and get it if they want it?
Everyone can go get breakfast if they want it, and they can also bring it to their homeroom with
Okay.
them during that morning meeting, advisory period, which is 7:45 to 8:10. So they have the opportunity to eat in the classroom.
So the kids need to know that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just was wondering if they were gonna, if that was changing.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you for all your hard work and
Yes, you did a lot
getting
of
this
work. Thank
updated
you.
and
You're welcome.
seems pretty good.
It's comprehensive.
Yeah.
I appreciate it too. I make a motion, we accept the handbook as amended. So you'll make those amendments, please?
Okay, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that was parent, student, faculty, staff was our next one. So some updates, nothing,
I don't see anything.
No, it's pretty good.
no, I
So with the exception, the only thing that needs to get changed is the school calendar,
Correct.
right,
so.
Make a motion, we accept the faculty support staff handbook with the amendments made to the calendar.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the last one is the athletics.
Do I have that one?
Yep,
It's a small one.
it's this one, right? Nope, yep,
It's
right here,
this.
handbook for athletes and parents. So,
Oh, I
and that
got it.
is Prospect, Barnstead, and Alton, so it should all,
Oh, I had the changes
the
on top,
same,
that's why I was looking.
and so basically they've changed the verbiage so that it is all the same.
So,
Sportsmanship, behavior, conduct.
Our new AD had input on all this.
He's the one who created it. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. With conversations of the principals as well. Sorry, I shouldn't say just him.
so they're on probation for 2 weeks and then they have to have passing grade as opposed to a weekly report, okay.
Yep.
So when it says student eligibility is based on term grades, not final grades, is that 3rd term only? Or is that,
I'm assuming it means throughout the term?
What
well, that,
page?
it says not final, so a final grade would be an average, right?
Right,
Yeah,
it
so
says
each
just-
term,
So if you had passing 1st term, failing 2nd term, passing 3rd term, but still passed for the year, you still can't play?
so, yeah, but what's in place there is that idea of taking a look at the grades and doing the probation pieces of it. And the hope is that, when they're on probation, they get the grade up to passing, and then they can continue to play in that first 2 weeks. If it goes past 2 weeks, then at that point, they'd still remain on the team, but they weren't able to participate until the grades got above there. So as that process works, kids will be able to get themselves back into passing grades without okay, I'm sorry, you're off the team now.
What's the eligibility for 5th graders who don't have letter grades?
That's a great question.
gee. It's a very good question.
They should be on probation, like, they can play, but if they start to slip after 2 weeks or whatever.
So how do you
should be,
determine?
like, monitored,
Yeah. We'll have to
Like
define
throughout the
what
But
first
if they don't
looks
have
like.
grades, maybe?
Yeah.
They don't have grades.
like if they're failing after the first 2 weeks of school, then
Or
you're
if
on,
they're not meeting the,
on probation further, like, you're on notice immediately,
So they're eligible to try out for the team.
yeah,
Yeah, everyone
Right,
should be
they should be.
eligible.
but
The
after
goal is
2
to keep
weeks, if,
kids playing, it's not to take them away,
Right.
so.
Right.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
goal is to make sure the kids
Correct.
see their academics as important.
This was more for students who have, like, new to the sport, who haven't played, are trying out, but have first term eligibility, so it's all the year prior. So like all the incoming fifth graders from last year who are now sixth graders who are trying out for the first time, more so. That was, since they didn't have letter grades.
Right,
so,
but they would, so
but-
the New Year's, so it starts clean for the year. High school usually goes by the last
But it
marking
doesn't
book.
say that here, it says student eligibility is, it's based on.
What page you looking at, Lauren?
the very first page, page 2 on the
Two.
bottom,
It's
students number, academic and athletic eligibility number 1.
from the
It's based on
previous.
term grades, not final grades, must pass a minimum of 4 courses to be eligible by NHIAA.
That's
Yes.
high
For
school.
high school sports.
Right.
Right.
But students must have all passing grades from the previous marking
Okay.
term to be eligible.
All right, we can clarify that for the elementaries so that,
Cause this is, I mean,
Yeah.
if we're looking at this as this is for every school, regardless of high school and ACS, then it has to be.
yeah, we'll identify the elementaries with the process there.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know, I mean, this probably was discussed in the meeting that the AD held, which I didn't attend, I was away on vacation, so I apologize if maybe he did clarify that during that meeting.
But we'll
Parent-
clean it up so it's clear, so there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah, it
question
should be
about that.
clear in
Yeah.
the handbook. It
Yep.
shouldn't just be at a meeting.
Okay, so do we wanna approve that, given the, changes of clarification?
We could do it under the condition that Matt
Yeah.
has
Are
clarification.
we, I don't remember if we as student athletes had, well, if they had to sign the student handbook, do they? I know we used to have them sign for like
We
the
used to.
electronic stuff, but I do,
I
I
think
would,
it's changed it's changed over time where it used to be everybody, all parents, all students had to sign. And then last year we made a shift to that because you have the parent handbook, you have the eligibility pieces of it. You're following that because it's board approved, so having a
Okay.
signature
As
doesn't.
opposed to chasing down people for
Chasing down, yeah.
signatures
Yeah.
and having them on
Right.
file and all that.
Correct.
So I think it's a
It's a burden. to have
yeah.
okay, I just,
Yep.
If they choose not to read it, they choose not to read it. They probably sign it without reading it.
I thought you were gonna say
Nope.
something.
Yeah. So, okay. So can I have a motion to?
I make a motion to accept the athletic handbook with the clarifications that Matt's gonna make.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that's all done. Policies, we have first reading of ACAC.
Is that a
Title
lengthy
IX
one, do you think?
grievances, informational only. This is a procedure.
There's a lot in that policy.
So it's just a first reading, so
So do we have to act on the first reading? No, we
no,
don't.
so it's just a first reading, that's ACAC.
We do have to take action.
Okay, so do
I make a
have
motion, we accept the first reading of ACAC and E EBBD-R.
Okay,
Thank you, Deb.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed?
Can't
No.
oppose Title IX, you have to do
No,
it.
that's not gonna happen. And then we have personnel actions, so we need an action on, looks like, 2 of them?
We don't need to act on the paraprofessionals, or do we?
No, it says no action necessary on the bottom
All right,
ones.
but we have a teacher in there,
Yeah,
so we have to take action on a
yes,
certified teacher.
that is correct.
All right, so I make a motion, we accept the retirement of Jean Stone and the resignation of Patricia Solier.
The Okay,
I was just gonna do it one
Okay.
section at a time.
Yep.
Anyone second me?
I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
Are we doing the whole thing?
No, we're just
Okay.
doing these two.
I was doing it by the ones we
Yep.
needed to do.
Okay.
So then I make a motion, we accept the nomination of Aaron Bozak, I don't know how,
Yep,
the middle school social studies teacher.
okay, do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's done, and then there's no action necessary on the others.
There's no action necessary, but I remember that we had the A coach for soccer listed, and then nothing, the B coach hasn't been listed at all anywhere that I've seen for soccer. But I do know that he
Isn't
has
that
been
Patrick?
hired, Patrick, your nephew.
Yeah, I thought he was hired, yeah.
He was hired,
thought
but
we did.
he was hired in between our last meeting, this meeting, but, so, and he's not on here.
And then did I see girls soccer is playing with Barnstead this year?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, they didn't have enough girls, I guess.
Yeah.
So that should have been in the personnel report is what she's saying.
I will
She's
make sure
right.
that's in the next one.
But he
Be
did
soccer
receive a
coach.
contract, it must have been, through the athletic director, right?
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, so it's Patrick Marcotte.
Okay.
He and Alex have already started, overzealous soccer people.
Okay, then we have our second public input.
First, I'd like to speak on the policy you guys are considering about having out-of-district children come into our district if their parent is an employer. By accepting a policy that is contingent on whether or not you're special education or not, or revising it after, is pretty discriminatory. And I think that we should be cautioned around accepting policies or enacting things that are not well thought out. So that's my public input around that. And discrimination based on special education is illegal. So coming back into the parent concern, thank you for the board for asking those questions. I've been waiting 4 months with questions asking when is an investigation being completed. Nothing. Parents in our district are being ignored, especially those parents that have very difficult things to talk about relating to safety and well-being. And that's what I hope that our attention is drawn to, the safety and well-being of our student and our staff, inclusion of our parents, and nonviolent communication between all of our members. We're here for a reason, and that is our kids and our community. And to ignore a parent for 4 months when our policy says that that's a no-no, you'll be setting an appointment with me to be having a discussion about my very real concerns that have been ignored for the last 4 months. So even though we have a policy, we need a little oversight around those people that may not follow through on their ends of the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Future agenda items. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Shea. I'm so sorry. I did not see you.
That's quite all right.
I apologize.
Takes me a while to get up now.
Thank you.
I regret that I missed the July meeting because I see that
We didn't.
there was,
We didn't
I'm
have
sorry.
one.
We didn't have
the
one.
June meeting,
June,
yeah.
Yes. Did
Um,
not miss July.
because there was apparently considerable discussion about my favorite subject, which is the math scores. And it looks as though actions are being taken. The only thing I can ask is that you accelerate those actions as much as possible, because every marking period that goes by leaves a kid behind where he or she might be if we had a better bet as far as our math process. So please do whatever you can in that regard. Beyond that, as usual, the school is in great shape, and I'm glad you're recognizing the efforts of the maintenance staff, because it's usually a thankless job. And finally, I must say, this was a great meeting. There was a lot of back and forth and exchange of ideas. Maybe it's because everybody's not all beat up and worn out yet, but
Right.
whatever the reason, I thank you for it. And it's also, although the subject matter is difficult, it's good to see a parent here attending the meetings. I wish we saw more of them. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I apologize for not seeing you. Any other public input? Okay, so future agenda items.
I did mention before, and we haven't seen it yet, but the, organizations that utilize the space after hours, that fill out facility request forms for using the gym. We have organizations within the community that use the facilities, getting them access to the door, temporary access. Because there are many times that we're gonna be hosting an event for PTSA and we're here. I can speak for myself, I'm sure there are others too, but, we can't access the building because, say, someone may be at dinner or whatever. We do have access to it through facility use form, but we don't have entrance to the building. I know like the youth league will use the gym in the winter, pickleball.
Is there pickleball here? I didn't know that.
It just
To align it with the high school.
Yeah, the high
Yeah,
school
the high
does
school
it, so when we
does,
rent
yeah.
from the high school, we have our own access cards and we can go in and out, and I think it just makes it easier, and it's less for, say, they are taking their dinner break, we don't want banging, having to make them
Knock on the window
Yeah,
as they're eating.
to come out and let us in. It might make it easy.
It would align with the high school. What about Barnstable? Do they allow, do they give the key cards to their coaches?
Coaches, yes, yeah, but
But
outside
not
organization,
outside?
yeah. Usually it's
So I
within
wonder
that.
why Prospect we do it and not in the others, huh?
We'll get clarification if Prospect does that.
We do use the key cards as the youth league, and I've accessed the building with a key card before, as a coach for the youth league in the town. So, I know they do.
Okay, so review of access.
Yep.
Okay.
So that'll be on the next agenda.
Um,
Although, isn't the next agenda a budget meeting? Don't we have to go over, supposed to be budget in October?
Right, so
Should we have a
hold on,
meeting
I
in
gotta get my
September
phone,
and break
sorry.
our every other month there, Ann?
so, yes, so,
Probably should have a September meeting.
right, because our October meeting is usually in the
It's always
afternoon.
budget, right. It's dedicated to budget, and we don't usually do other items. And you're gonna be talking about the audit. We probably should have a September meeting is what I'm thinking. I hate to
So
say
would
it.
we be
People
looking
gonna
at
hate me.
the 16th?
When is the third
That's the third,
Monday,
Monday is the 16th.
16th? What do you think? Does that work for you guys? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have our next meeting September 16th. I apologize, but if this is, okay, so I've added that. And then do we wanna talk about the October dates? We have normally done it starting at like 4 o'clock in the library.
Last year, that's what you did, 'cause I couldn't
last
make
2
it. It
years.
was the senior night or something
Yeah,
for
so
Olivia.
do we wanna set that date?
Sure, I do. I think
I
we should.
would like to too.
What is
It's
it?
normally the week after Columbus Day, so like again, it's October 16th is a Wednesday, which is when we've typically done it.
Uh-huh.
When's our regular
That's-
meeting?
We don't
that's
have a
the-
regular
that
meeting, we
would-
just do
That would
budget
be our meeting.
in
So
October.
we meet at
Was it
4
o'clock last year?
Yeah.
I remember
I think
eating a
Barnstable might
sandwich.
have a meeting that night.
on the 16th. Okay, so
That would be-
then, I can't do the 23rd either. I could do,
Well, we
the
could stick with a
17th?
Monday. Oh, that's a holiday, isn't it? What
Yeah.
about the 21st? You can't make the 21st? There's a soccer game here,
the library is closed that day.
Gilmington, soccer game here.
Alton, which is where we normally meet.
We didn't last year. We worked
Where did we meet?
the high school.
You weren't
High
there.
school?
Oh, you were there, yeah.
The high school.
Yeah, you met at the high school, 'cause I was at
Okay.
Olivia's senior night.
In the library. The high
Okay,
school.
so
What was that,
the
last year?
Monday the
I don't know, was that the year before?
21st.
I don't
Monday the
remember.
21st. Monday the 21st at 4
This must've
o'clock.
been the year before. Did we meet in the library
I
last
might
year?
have a tough time with that if they do
You weren't
have
on the
games.
board. Where did we meet last year?
The game's at 4:30.
No, it's at Prospect Mountain Library.
Yes.
So we're doing the 21st? It's at 4:30, the game.
Right. I said I might have a problem if it's at 4:30.
That's
I don't
fine.
think we met that early last year.
Yeah, we try to do it early because it's usually a
It's a
longer
long
meeting.
3-hour meeting.
Okay, so
We're doing the 21st?
the October 21st at 4 PM in the Prospect Library for our budget meeting. We have also added September 16th for our next board meeting.
Is Matt gonna be away that?
Yeah,
So Laura may not be able to make the budget meeting.
That's,
that's what I just told her.
that's fine.
Okay, that's
I
fine,
mean,
Laura, we'll
we
do it.
can't-
We'll
I can
just
just
spend
be
all the
late.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't.
I won't make the game, but that's okay. What about you, Christie?
We'll see.
See if you can.
We'll see.
We'll have a quorum if we have Eric here. You gonna be able to do it?
I think so.
Okay, so if things change, please communicate, because that is,
It's hard when your kids are in soccer too. I
Did
don't
we
know.
have to attend the town meeting too, or did someone do that? Did you do that for us?
Town meeting?
Yeah, didn't we have to,
I'll do that.
Christie's doing the budget meetings, but if Christie can't make it, then I'm the
I'll
alternate.
babysit for you.
are there any other future agenda items? That is, okay, and so then we did our next meeting dates, so then we would not meet in November?
Yeah, I guess not. That would eliminate
that make-
Thanksgiving problems. wouldn't
Right,
it?
right, which is always helpful for,
Of course, when you're retired, it's not as worse.
okay. So not to get too far down, but our thought is that we would not meet in November.
And we're gonna continue the same schedule as last year.
I think so, yes. I
Okay.
think that's worked fine, and unless there's a.
Well, again, we
need-
can change it like we
Yeah.
did
Yeah,
tonight.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
When we
Okay.
need to, because Heidi's gonna need us to meet in September, I think, right? You'll need us.
Sure.
I know you do, Heidi, I know you do.
Working on the budget.
Okay,
All right, we have to go into non-public now,
Yep.
huh? Okay. I make a motion that we go into non-public for RSA 91-A:32, parentheses A and C, personnel, student matters, and emergency functions.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Okay, we are now in non-public, thank you.
thank you.